Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Gulfport number FR310. This is what's called a multi-purpose anchor. And the reason it's called a multi-purpose anchor is because I can see this being used in four different ways. Four different types of mount can you for sure use with this. Four different applications of installation. You just can't use it as a T-anchor installation or a wire anchor. So a multi-purpose anchor is going to be exactly what its name suggests. An anchor that you can use in multiple different applications, and indeed this will work in, like I said, at least four that I can think of. There may be more. Now, the only downside of a multi-purpose anchor is you have to have them for each depth of frame. Not that all is lost if you don't, because we can, and we will take our cutter, and if we needed to make this smaller, we're going to get right in there and we're literally going to modify the size of this to allow it to fit into a smaller frame. Cut something off, score this, bend it over, cut this, fold it back, so it'll fit into a 4 3/4 frame. Conversely, if you needed to do it for a larger frame, simply cut this leg off, take two of them, and tack weld them together. Okay, that's not a big deal either. But it would be best if you had the right size, because all that additional work is a lot of additional work. And it's just cheaper really to buy the right anchors. If you're doing 1 or 2 frames, not really a big deal. How does this work? Well, a lot of people are just going to take this and snap it into the frame, into the throat of the frame, because the outside dimension of this is literally intended for a 5 3/4 depth frame. You can see the overall width of that is right at about 5 7/8. Well, you're going to want tension. You're going to want these pieces to fold back to fit it on the inside of a 5 3/4 frame, which is probably going to be closer to 5 5/8, if you calculate the thickness of the steel itself, something closer to that. So you'll routinely have to get these into place, and you might need to tap them into place. I don't think you're going to be able to force them by hand, although maybe you can. So these will go into the frame, into the throat of the frame. Okay, you can use this. Let's go over some different types. First of all, these tabs that you can literally bend over on either side, you snap it into place, you get it into place, and because of that size, it's going to stay in position, even though we would always weld these. I don't want them to move, number one. Number two, I don't want a customer to call and say, you forgot to send me the anchors. So I would tell my shop, weld the anchor into the frame, period. There's no discussion, because I'm not driving back 50 miles for 6 anchors. So we would always weld them in. In the case of T-anchors, obviously that's not going to work, but we would really like to use the adjustable strap and yoke anchors, the UL listed T-anchors that have a big hoop on them that get welded into the frame, and then just a corrugated piece of metal will ride in that yoke. Anyway, we will always weld these because it eliminates the possibility that someone's going to call us and say, I didn't get my anchors. Because they do fall out, is the bottom line, and you do forget, which is probably why we're selling these anchors alone. So we would weld these in. Now, bend these tabs back. This is in the frame, 3 per side, 4 per side, whatever you like. Obviously, 3 per side would be typical. I like to run the quantity of anchors equal to the quantity of hinges that I'm doing on a job. Unless it's a heavy door, I'll increase the anchor. If it's a 3/6 or a 4/0, which has 3 hinges because it's 7 foot tall, I would put 4 anchors. Would really like to have, 2 up at the top where the majority of the weight of the door is hanging. Anyway, get this into the throat, weld it in if you can. You can bend these tabs over and have them wrap around your wood stud. That's going to be wall type 1. You can take these anchors and simply fold them over and then back your metal stud right up to the back of this and run zip anchors, run your tech screws, mini screws, mini drywall screws, right into the back of the anchor, although you're going to need self-drilling points on this. a metal stud would be appropriate as well. I would also consider these for that same sort of application. You can bend these tabs over, but I would like to just take a Z profile, weld that into the frame, have the frame set in place and shot down to the ground, and bring my wall construction up to the frame, and then again literally go right into the back of this flange with whatever structure, you know, if it's a metal sided building, if it's a metal, you know, type building, you know, you're not going to have metal studs, so you're going to weld whatever the channel is or the wall structure is right to the back of this. So that would be the third wall condition: wood stud, metal stud, other wall construction. And then the fourth that I can think of is drill and countersink, dimple the stop, run your sleeve anchor right through these holes, and now you've got an existing opening prep as well. You're obviously going to need to fold these tabs back or get rid of them one way or another, just maybe snip them off. But we do like to weld all that into the frame, and the important part about having this located in the frame when you're going to do the expansion anchor is that as you tighten the frame, as you tighten the bolt, you're not crushing the frame in, and this is going to help keep you rigid. You might tack weld it to the sides as well. Overall width of the anchor, you can see it's just coming up, you know, basically at 2 inch. So for a 2-inch profile, this is exactly what you need. Now, if you have an 1.5 inch profile or 1.75 inch or something unusual, yeah, this is not going to work very elegantly in terms of, you know, giving you an expansion anchor that will resist crushing of the frame down as you tighten the bolts down. But they, you know, custom anchors for unusual face profiles of frames, they can be made. It's just you're probably going to end up seeing some hybrid of stock pieces taken and welded together. You know, obviously you can take one and put it on your chop saw and just extend the whole thing back, but the amount of work you're going to do. You know what? You could also use this as a floor anchor. That would be the fifth way. You could get that placed down into the foot of your frame and use it as a floor anchor. If you've welded drywall frames together, sometimes people do that. You could use this as a base anchor. Okay, got a couple of holes there. You know, those holes are there for a reason. These are obviously made of steel, and they're in a wipe coat galvanized sort of process. Weigh about 1/3 pound each. Maybe just a little bit less. But again, back to the base anchor, sure, you're obviously going to need to modify what's happening here. If you're going to run your drywall in, you can just slice the tabs off, run your material in. Yeah, I think that would work out really well, using it as a base anchor. I can't think up of any others. You might be able to, but there's at least 5 ways to use this type of anchor. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Gulfport products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Their name is synonymous with OEM equipment as it comes to accessories for hollow metal, accessories supplied to hollow metal manufacturers. You might buy doors and frames from a large, well-known name. They may not be making their anchors. They're probably buying them from someone like Gulfport. There's another catalog there of hardware that they have. They have a variety of other pieces of hardware, some lock sets, some security hardware, and they also have some vision frames that are there as well. Any questions on the Gulfport FR310 5 3/4 multi-purpose anchor or any other Gulfport product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.